गुड इवनिंग देवी और सज्जनों। थेम स्पीक्स के आज के इस कार्यक्रम में आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत है। आज के इस कार्यक्रम में जिसमें हम अलग अलग कंट्रीज से, अलग अलग जगहों से जो लोग आए हैं और अपनी पॉजिटिव स्टोरीज को इस यूके के ऊपर छोड़ते हैं, उनके बारे में हम डिस्कस करते हैं थेम स्पीक्स के इस कार्यक्रम में। हमने अनेकों लोगों को, अनेकों किस्सों को, अनेकों ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को पिछले कई हफ्तों में अपने इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे डिस्कस किया है। उन सारे लोगों, उन सारे पर्सनालिटी से एक चीज़ हमेशा सीखने को मिलती है कि ज़िंदगी हमारे खुद के लिए नहीं, दूसरों के लिए भी है। सो we have a lot of reputed guests on this platform. I would like to welcome our esteemed guest today, Baroness Sandeep Verma. Baroness Sandeep Verma, she is highly influential. I can put in this way, she joined House of Lords in 2006. After that, she has joined a lot of ministerial positions. She was chairing a lot of public and private sector committees. She was also Minister for Power and Minister of Energy, but I think that Minister of Energy gave an extra energy to her, and she created a new idea, and that is called Powerful Women. And so, as a Minister of Energy, she added power to the women. That was her contribution in that stage. She was also raised, and she studied. She spent her childhood in Leicester in 1960s and 70s, when racial equality, diversity, gender equality and other things were just words, and we used to find them in dictionary. It was not practically applicable in the world. She faced those challenges in 1960s and 70s. She is also a successful businesswoman, and she is also an ideal family woman who did each and everything for her family, for her society, for her community and for her business. I can put in this way, she is a multifaceted personality. Apart from this, she is an excellent leader. Someone said in Urdu once upon a time, निगाह बुलंद, सुखन दिल नवाज और जान परसोज, यही रखते सफ़र मीरे कारवां के लिए. Means, जो लीडर दूरदृष्टि हो, अच्छा वक्ता हो और जान को जलाने वाला हो, वही सबसे अच्छा लीडर है. I can find these three qualities in Baroness Sandeep Verma. Welcome, Baroness Sandeep Verma, to the Thames Speak show.
Thank you so very much for having me today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure that we are connecting and we are discussing today about all those certain things which we really wanted to talk. We Indians or Asians, we are really good in talking, but we are also people, those who are always looking for role models in our lives. I'm sure after this interview, probably people will find a new role model in their lives. Those who are watching, probably they will find a new direction in their life. This is what I'm expecting from this interview and from this discussion. So, as a layman, I have read a lot about you, and I can see your journey is quite inspiring. Why did you decide to join politics? What was the reason behind that decision, that you broke that old taboo, you broke that conservative family taboo, you have faced challenges in terms of color and race and gender, but what was the actual reason for joining politics?
So thank you very much, and that's a really good question, because I think most people believe politics isn't for them. But when you grew up in a country where racism was absolutely rampant, where gender bias was still very, very prolific, and where even within your own community, the girl child was seen as somebody who got to a certain age and was then to be married off. All of those factors then shape the way you are. And also, I think the fact that no political organization talked to people like me. You know, I'd grown up here, but I didn't see anybody who was speaking, looking, and sounding like me. And therefore, a lot of what our needs were just completely ignored. And that, to be quite frank, was not acceptable. So, you know, I decided to look at all the political parties, and I decided to see where I fitted in. But I knew one thing, that every single political party, and still remains the case, that there is a lot of work to be done, but every single political party, they talk the talk, they didn't walk the walk. And so my message to everybody who is listening today is that regardless of where you sit in politics, you need to be able to question the people that are representing you. Because there is no point in them saying that they like your culture and they like you and then do nothing for you. They are public servants, they are there to serve, and most people forget that they are there to serve you, not for you to serve them.
I think they forget because probably certain communities are still in the mindset of British Raj. That was the time when they used to think that if they are just praising us, it is sufficient for us. We do not need to think about the political power. And maybe a lot of communities, they need to come out of that mindset. They need to be active in politics, and they should think that power is meant for their betterment. That power is not meant to just praise them only. But my question was, when you were a kid, or maybe when you were a schoolgoer, which personality inspired you a lot to join the politics?
So I think the point of that is that there are so many people who come into your lives to inspire you. The first starting point was my mother. She came to this country as a young mum, a young wife, no knowledge of English, no knowledge of the culture here, but she really drove into us the need for us to stand up and be counted. And my father was the same. So I think my role models were around my house. They were the biggest protagonists as well, because they were contradiction of terms. You know, the girl child or the child is to be seen and not heard. You don't, you want to be British, but you need to be Indian. And living these parallel lives was very difficult in those days when there were no role models around you. But my history books taught me that there was nobody there in history books that looked like me. So I explored Indian history. I explored Indian religion, the religions from India. And I saw that actually it's full of strong women, strong role models. And actually the sadness for me today is that those role models are not embedded in young boys and girls growing up from the Indian community.
I will partially accept your comment. Sometimes we do talk about our history, but we don't live with those values and those ethics. That's why we do not have those present role models. We only talk about those role models which has done their job 200 years ago or 300 years ago. Hopefully, people like you and other people, those who are working hard, they will be role model for a lot of people and maybe the younger generation. But when you joined the politics, that time, what was the condition of the women in the British politics? Do you think that there's a good participation from women's side in British politics? Sorry, there was a good participation in those days?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. It was very limited.
Yeah.
Most political parties did not want to change. It was very much run by men for men. And, whereas the Labour Party had put in a listing of all women shortlists, the Conservative Party, which I joined, wouldn't do that. What they wanted to do was have women come in on their own merit and not on shortlists. However, whichever way you look at it, there are more women today than there have been ever in the past. Is it enough? No. I think we need to look at the makeup of the population and say that we need women from all backgrounds, we need women from diverse backgrounds, but we need people from diverse backgrounds. And, politics is not for somebody else, it's for us, because everything that is happening to us is happening because of politics. Policies are decided for us, but not with us. So, again, I say to all of your viewers, the point is, do not wait for somebody else to try and change something for you. Take an interest, whether it's for school governorship, whether it's for local government, national government, whether it's in the charity sector. But at least be part of the community that actually helps make decisions. Value yourself to be valued.
I think this is also a good message for the people, those who really want to do something, but maybe they didn't find their pathway. Here, I would like to quote a very famous personality who was born 3,000 years ago, and he was born on the borders, or maybe Indo-Nepal border, and his name was Siddhartha. Later on, he became Buddha. And yesterday was his birthday, and yesterday was day which was called Buddha Purnima. And in my eyes, he was one of the most revolutionary person in terms of religion and system. He was the first person who democratized the religion. He said everyone has to find their own pathway to attain or achieve moksha. So, in the same way, people, those who want to participate and they want to achieve something, they have to find their own pathway. There's no one who can create a pathway for them, and everyone has to do their own homework to achieve something, and maybe achieve something for the betterment for the next generation and for the future. So, my question is, what challenges did you face as a woman in the public life in 1960s, 70s, and what challenges are you facing still in 2021?
So, first of all, you're growing up in a country where there were no race relation rules at that time, and there were no equal rights rules at that time. So it was normal, not just within the Indian community, but within the wider community, for women to have very few rights. And, you know, they battled hard. And then you're a person of color. So it was very much a prevalence that you were called names, that people could say anything to you and you had to accept it until you decided that you didn't want to accept it. And I come from the city where actually the first far-right group was founded, which is the National Front. So I don't know if you know of the skinhead movement, but they
Yes,
sort of
I know, and I
popped
know
up.
the history of the skinhead movement and how they created a lot of issues in different parts of the country, and how they were challenged in Southall, and there were a lot of protests for and against skinhead movements.
So we were that generation that saw the skinhead movement, and some of us had decided then that keeping quiet was no longer an option, that we had to stand up and we had to fight. And we had to stand up for not just ourselves, but for everybody who could not stand up for themselves. So to be quite frank, as a teenager, I was one of those people who was constantly on the campaign. I went to a school which was very white. It was in one of the poorest parts of Leicester. It was very prevalently influenced by far-right thinking. But you know, if you stand your ground and look the bully in the eye, the bullies tend to then understand that they have met their match.
Yes.
And we as a group of people came together. It was white, blacks, Indians, Asians. We all came together to fight racism. The sad thing, of course, is today we have decided that we're pocketing ourselves into our own communities, you know, and we've actually, our diversification has made it so difficult for communities to actually be the community, the one community where you fight. So whether it's the 21st century or the 20th century, as I was growing up as a teenager, the problems are we have self-inflicted division upon ourselves now. And when people say to me, which part of India are you from? And I will say, well, I was born in the Punjab, but actually I see myself as of Indian origin, which means it doesn't matter which part of India. I have a big family of Indians from across the globe. And so we have to go back to our first principles of unity. Where do we all belong? Where do we come from to belong to? And I think that's the biggest problem that we have, that we've lost that sort of union that we used to have. I grew up in this country when so few Indian families existed that if a family visited from India, we all went to visit them. We all went to see them off at the airport. We all gave them dinners together. It's that sort of loss of community that we need to rethink about.
In that era, I know people used to organize weddings in the same Indian style. They used to hire a school hall and they used to invite the whole community.
Yeah.
So wedding was attended by a lot of people, but in the next generation we can see a huge change. Those things which you mentioned and those things which I mentioned, I can see that we can clearly see there has been a lot of change in those systems nowadays. Now people organize their weddings in a different way. Now people will also try not to involve that much because we believe in I, me and myself. That is also a new mantra in 21st century. That's what I can say. Apart from this,
Gladly.
I know we talk about Leicester, we also talk about UK, but when we see across the globe, if we talk about Bangladesh, if we talk about Germany, or if we talk about America or other countries, I can see a lot of head of states, they are women. So the women representation as a head of state is increasing day by day. Even one of your favorite personality, Indira Gandhi, she was also head of state from India. All those ladies who are becoming head of state. So how do you see that representation of women as a head of state? How do you see that this is changing in 21st century, and which pathway we are going now in the future?
So first of all, I mean, when I was a little girl, Indira Gandhi was the person I could relate to because she looked like me, she came from where I came from, and she was a woman, a very strong woman leader. Sadly, we don't get to see as many strong women leaders coming from India now. We need to, of course, have some more coming forward. But we do have strong, good women leaders across the globe. And what they're showing is politics being done in a different way. They're showing that you can actually reach out and you can look at social policies as well as economic policies, as well as geopolitics, all in different lenses. And I think the fact that these women leaders have demonstrated that there is a big place for women at the head of organizations, at the head of politics, gives you hope that those young girls being born today, the young women who are going through education, the young women who aspire to do something, have got role models to look at now. And I think that's phenomenal. And, you know, all of these women would have started off thinking, what can I do to be different? But you don't have to do anything because you are different. And the glory of being different is that it's you and your footprint on the world. And the way you will express yourself will have an impact positively on others. So I don't go around trying to mimic somebody else. I am very happy in my own skin. I have lots of flaws, but I also have a lot of strengths. And I work to my strengths and I try to eradicate my flaws.
That's great. I think this is also a spirit where I think everyone needs to find their own pathway. This is what we were discussing.
Yeah.
And who we are. If we know our strengths and weaknesses, probably we will do a good job in this world. Our country has seen many movements and protests for women empowerment. And I think there's a history of all these different women empowerment protests and movements. Do you think that we need more movements and protests? If yes, what do you think, on which issues these movements we should do?
Well, look, until I see every organization everywhere having equal representation, we've got a fight on our hands. I set up Powerful Women in the Energy Sector as a Minister for Energy because the energy sector in the UK had so few women at the top, at CEO level, at senior management level. And it's not good enough because the biggest consumers are women. So we need to make sure that the women's voice and presence are heard. And the pathway in these careers need to be there for people to know that there is a pathway that young women can go into and progress. So whether it's the civil service, which I'm just having conversations with the government on, or whether it's the energy sector or any sector, the banking sector, We need to make sure that the career progression is there, available for women, for people of diverse backgrounds, so that we have an inclusive organization. Any organization that isn't inclusive has got zero value in my eyes, because they are not then listening to the biggest end consumer, and the end consumer, their customer, will then walk, and they should walk.
Do you think that government should prepare or plan something where they can do different type of skill development, or maybe training centers, or maybe career guidance, where they can prepare women from different background to achieve good positions in different companies and in different sectors? Do you think government should try to do that?
No, government shouldn't. Government shouldn't be the tablet for everything. We are all individually responsible. So if you have an organization with a CEO and senior management and you're working in that organization, then you should look at what the career progression is. Schools have a really important role to play. When your child goes in as a little child of 4 years old, 5 years old, that child, whether he's a boy or a girl, whether he's white or black or from a minority background, should be told, if you have the skills and the confidence, you can achieve anything. The reason why I am the way I am, even though I went to one of the toughest schools in Leicester City, was my teachers told me I could achieve anything, that I needed to be able to believe I could do it. And you know, at the end of the day, unless we remove those barriers of, you're a girl, you can't do this, you're a girl, you can't do that, you're a minority, you can't think of this, until we ourselves from families start to think about it, how do we ourselves as parents, as grandparents, as family members behave towards our children? We then reinforce those barriers when our children go to school. Then they're reinforced when they go to work. So the fact is, let us all take a bit of responsibility as well. I don't need government to tell me. I need government to help me.
I think maybe government doesn't need to tell us, but maybe all these organizations and as you suggested earlier, maybe different charities or the schools and other places. It's not only just, I think, in terms of education, probably, maybe all these organizations, they also need guidance. How can they bring more gender equality? How can they promote women in power, and those especially in senior positions? I think it requires a lot of push so that women can join as a senior role. My next question will be,
and just on that one though, just
pardon?
before we leave this subject, on that one, absolutely right, which is why the government in 2010 looked at what the FTSE 100, what FTSE 250 was doing. I believe that every large organisation has a responsibility to tell everybody else what they're doing. And then it cascades downwards to smaller organisations. But the key thing is that if you believe you can do something, you need to be able to find people who are willing to support, mentor, sponsor you. And those need to be part of an organisational makeup.
I completely agree with you, and I think people, especially big companies and big organizations, they need to be role model for small companies and small organizations, and then in this way it will be replicated throughout the community and society. Do you see any difference in British politics in terms of diversity? Or does skin color matters? Or from 1960s to 2020, do you see any big change in terms of diversity?
So it's changing. It's changing, but I still think the colour of your skin still matters. I still think we've got a long way to go before we can safely say that, you know what, whether it's a job in the civil service or whether it's a job in politics or whether it's a job in the private sector, we have got to help institutions understand that their benefit to their bottom line or to their organizations is to be able to nurture talent regardless of skin color. that happening. And that is why people like me will keep challenging the systems until we recognize that, we shouldn't be fighting for diversity, because it should be intrinsically recognizable that my organization with the best talent possible is going to do well. But that is also a responsibility back on us. We have also got to drum into our children, drum into our people that do not accept second best.
So,
if you are good at something, you need to be fighting for it. My father told me when I was a little girl that do not ever come home thinking that you are second best. He was a very typical conservative Indian, but on this one issue, on the color of my skin, on the color of his skin, he refused to let us accept we were second best.
I think the values inculcated by your father, we can see the impact of those values now. I hope parents, those who are listening and watching this program, they will try to inculcate the same values in their children. We will continue with this discussion, especially about diversity and other topics after the break. And please keep on watching Thames Speaks.
Love that feeling? Join the AA, the UK's #1. Our patrols will usually get you back on the road in around 30 minutes of getting to you. Plus, we'll give you unlimited call-outs, so we'll always be there when you need us. Love that feeling? We'll get you back on the road from £6 a month. The AA. Join today. Call 0800 29 40 999 or visit theaa.com.
You ping pong. You switch energy.
Switch your energy at uswitch.com and you could save hundreds of pounds.
My name is Sophia. I live in North London and I'm a costume designer. I love my job and clothes are really important for me. I also love vintage because I like buying second-hand. I think it's great for the planet to reuse clothes that are still in good condition. What I like most about buying on Vinted is because there's such a big variety, there's something for everyone. And you can get great brands, and really expensive ones, at really affordable prices. It's my go-to place for amazing deals. I can save some money and get more for my budget. Download the free Vinted app. Want it? Get it on Vinted.
At Glasses Direct, try the glasses you like at home for free. Really try them on. Trust our qualified opticians to check the detail of each and every order. And right now, get 2 pairs from £16 or 2 designer pairs from £36 with lenses. Get your glasses your way at glassesdirect.co.uk.
When Fatima arrived at hospital, she was too weak to even stand. But with urgent treatment and nutritious food, this is Fatima just days later. That's how fast a child can recover from severe malnutrition if they receive the food and medicine they need in time. That's what your £3 today could do. This is the land where Fatima's family now live since drought forced them to leave their home. But with your help, this is how families all over the world are transforming their land and their lives, with different types of seeds and new farming practices. This is what your £3 today could do. Please text Fatima3 to 70002 to give £3 a month through your mobile. At Save the Children, we see how each donation adds up to something amazing. Children, happy and healthy, because their parents can grow the food they need to thrive. That is what someone's £3 a month helped achieve. Imagine what yours could do. Please text Fatima3 to 70002 to give £3 a month through your mobile.
Our pets help us feel better, happier. Let's do the same for them with Frontline Plus, the UK's best-selling flea and tick protection for our best friends.
In the dark about your credit score, Credit Karma can help you understand yours and improve it for free. We can help find you a pre-approved credit card or personal loan tailored to you. Credit Karma will take you through step-by-step ways to boost your credit score and help keep you on top of your money, so you can focus on what matters most to you. Join over 100 million members worldwide. Sign up for free at creditkarma.co.uk or download the app today.
गुड इवनिंग देवी और सज्जनों, हम चर्चा कर रहे थे थेम्स स्पीक्स के आज के इस कार्यक्रम में उन विषयों पर जिसे हम कह सकते हैं लाइफ चेंजिंग मोमेंट्स, जिन्हें हम कह सकते हैं इंस्पायरिंग पर्सनैलिटीज़। वो लोग जिन्होंने अपनी ज़िंदगी को दूसरे लोगों के लिए और समाज के लिए दांव पे लगा दी, हम उस विषय पर चर्चा कर रहे थे। और आज के जो हमारे सबसे बड़े गेस्ट हैं वो हैं बैरनेस संदीप वर्मा। आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम हर अगेन इन द प्रोग्राम। वेलकम बैरनेस वर्मा। It was really nice talking to you before the break, and it was insightful and inspiring. Before I can start other questions, in every program I always discuss about one topic, and that's called favorite books. Why I talk about this? Because when we read books, then I think books are source for us. It opens a new world for us. It opens a window for the new world. So whenever you read a new book, you feel that you are in a new world for that particular time being. And people, those who are doing amazing in their lives, they also, their thoughts and their actions and their deeds are also shaped by those books sometime. So I always ask this question to the people and guests: please suggest 1 or 2 or 3 favorite books which has influenced you a lot. And probably people, those who are watching this program, they will definitely try to buy this book, and they will also try to change their lives. So my question is very simple. What's your favorite book? What is the reason behind it? Anything special about that book?
So I've got so many favorite books, but I like history.
Yeah.
And I like, because I don't get very much time to read these days, but I do like, I like history, so I like Philippa Gregory books. I like Maeve Binchy books. And these are books that take people in ordinary lives and make them into extraordinary people. So, and most of them have very strong female characters. So you can obviously see that, you know, these books are for me. I also like great murder mysteries, not because I have murderous tendencies, but I have a mind that likes to try and figure out who the murderer is or who the perpetrator is. So I don't want to pinpoint any one book because there are just too many. But I think those are the books that I really enjoyed reading as I grew up. But my storytelling, and I love the storytelling as my mum used to tell me, were all the books around Hinduism and Sikhism, because my mum's storytelling was phenomenal as I was growing up. So listening about Lord Krishna, listening about Guru Nanak Ji, listening about, you know, it made you a person that understood where your roots were from. You know, looking at great figures from the past. So my storytelling, and this is to all parents out there, it's amazing how much influence storytelling it has on little children. And, you know, just listening to my mom telling me stories about Lord Shiva, how strong he was, about Parvati being a strong woman, and then looking at the historical romance or the murder mystery books that I read, is basically just to give some release to a very heavy-duty lifestyle I have.
I can gather 3-4 elements from this conversation. You like history books, especially when we can find those women characters who strongly came out and who represented and who did something amazing in the past. You also like storytelling, because especially those things where it inculcates values, and it also puts a special social and religious structure in front of us, that what type of an ideal behavior we should have and how we should behave in our lives. Can you just tell me about three, four women characters from the past who has influenced you, or when you were reading about them, you found it was really interesting? Can you please tell me about those women characters?
So there is this phenomenal Rani from, of course, Rajasthan, Jhansi, who I think even today, I don't think the history books reflect actually the amount of work she did during her very limited
short
period
span of
life.
reign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at that and look at the way that actually shifted thinking amongst the British, it really has some key underlining messages to it. I look at Elizabeth I from the Tudor times in the UK and see that, if you want to look at how geopolitics globally was changed under a phenomenal Elizabethan queen. And then there are so many brilliant figures from the past that were discoverers, that were inventors, that were from science, and none of these figures really, I think, we have enough storytelling about to really, and they come from across the world, from France, from America, from India. We have some really phenomenal figures. And those figures, to me, I mean, I'm actually in the middle of constructing 20 predominantly strong rulers and political figures from India's past, and they're going to be all females. And I want to try and see how I can embed them into history books here, because I want children growing up from South Asia to understand that figures like that existed in our history thousands of years ago. Feminism is not a new concept. Strong women are not a new concept. Our history books are full of them, but we just don't know where to find them.
I completely agree with you. I think from the culture from where we come from, feminism is not a new idea. It's equality, and gender equality is from thousands of years. We have a lot of women figures and characters, those who did an amazing job if we will try to look into the Indian history and Asian history. Hopefully, the new generation will learn about it a lot. And suddenly, when you were talking about the curriculum and inclusion of those 20 strong characters in the British curriculum, then suddenly it reminded me one more topic, one more aspect of British Raj. In First World War and Second World War, thousands and thousands of people, or maybe I can put it in millions of people, those who fought for British Empire, they were from India. And I even met a lot of people and their family members, those who were part of Second World War or First World War. And to my surprise, those unsung heroes, those who laid their lives in Middle East, or those who laid their lives in African countries or in the European part or in different places, unfortunately, they are not being recognized neither in India nor in Britain. And I feel sometime even in school curriculum in UK, I do not see a lot about First World War and Second World War and role of British Indians, or maybe role of Indians in First World War and Second World War. I have not seen any material in curriculum. That is also something probably at some point we should try to include in the syllabus. Have you experienced anything like this where people demanded you, because you are a member of House of Lords, that they demanded you, can you please include something about First World War and Second World War veterans?
I don't need people to demand it of me. I demand it myself. Because my grandfather from my father's side was a captain in the British Army in World War II. My father-in-law was in the World War II. I believe firmly, and this is a discussion I have regularly with the army here, but I'm now going to have it with my own colleagues for the curricula. I want to see a proper reflection of the soldiers from the Commonwealth, and the largest contingencies came from India. And I want them to be reflected properly. You know, I really admire my friend Baroness Plather and her colleagues at the time for the Commonwealth Gates, the work they did to get those gates up. And I often wonder how many of the children from all the Commonwealth communities actually go and look at the gates, because it is a symbol of our presence within both world wars. But also, actually think what you said was really important. It's got to be reflected in the history books in India.
I agree with you. Means why I'm surprised. In 2018, it was like it was 100th year of First World War, and I was discussing with few people, and then I realized. So I read a lot about this particular topic, and I find out from different states, from Jodhpur, from Jaipur, from Jaisalmer, from Udaipur, not only from Rajasthan, from different parts of India, a lot of army contingents came. They fought war in different places. One of the famous war is in Haifa. Haifa war was also mentioned in that particular area, and it was fought by three armies: Jodhpur Lancers, Hyderabad, and Mysore. So Hyderabad and Mysore were just on reserve. Jodhpur Lancers, they fought the war and they won the war against Ottoman Empire. And I think that's the only war which British, Israelis and India, they celebrate. I have not seen any other celebration, neither in India nor in Britain, about those unsung heroes. And I'm surprised, means when I was discussing with you, I never thought that you're related, from your parental side or your maternal side, that you're related with those people, those who were part of First World War and Second World War. So I think definitely, at least if we are not able to give them space on public in terms of a monument, at least we should give them a space in history books, or maybe at least that history should be recognized.
Well, we should put them in history books. I'm not the greatest fan of monuments. I think monuments are great and symbolic, but you know, the biggest service we can do to the future generations is to make them understand what happened in the past and how they are connected to that past.
Yes.
You know, if we forget, then we lose the essence of our identity. And the essence of our identity makes us who we are. And if we're ever going to dilute that essence, then actually that's a shame on us. And so every viewer here, if they don't find it in their history books, they need to at least seek it out to tell their families. I mean, you know, I'm proud that, you know, we made such a huge contribution to winning the wars, World War and II. But at the same time, we should actually also recognize those sacrifices were made for a free world. We live in that free world today.
I completely agree with you. Those wars were not meant to support any existential power or any empirical power, but that was to support the free world. Today's free world would not have been possible without those wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. To stop those fascist powers, to stop those negative powers, the war was imminent, and that's why our ancestors fought in First World War and Second World War. And I think they should be placed in right curriculum in schools and maybe on digital history boxes. Hopefully something will be done in the future. Maybe you can add this extra agenda in your long diary where you are managing different things, as we discussed earlier. You are a successful businesswoman, you are also working with Conservative Party, you are also a member of House of Lords. At the same time, you are also part of different NGOs. So, you know, you might have different diaries, and I'm just surprised as a human being that how do you manage all these different diaries? But I can definitely say, yes, you are multitasking. And the culture from where I come from, I have always seen people, those who are multitasking, then we represent those women with 6 hands, 8 hands, and 10 hands, and 16 hands. And that was the correct analogy for the women when they are multitasking. Now, my next question is, when you were infant, when you were 1 year old, you moved from Amritsar to UK. But still, when did you go back? What type of memories are associated with your birthplace? And still, why do you feel it is so special?
So first of all, I'd like your viewers to know one thing about my coming into this world in Amritsar. So my father was a customs officer stationed in Amritsar, and my mum and my dadi ji, when my mother was pregnant with me, they lived very nearby to the Golden Temple, Harendra Sahib. And so my mum would go there regularly with my dadi ji. And in fact, my mother went into labor with me as she was sitting there during prayers. So from there, they went straight to the hospital. So I always say to people, I am so blessed that my journey in this world started in one of the most sacred places on the planet. And from there, going to the hospital, being born, I am so happy that I am a baby of Amritsar, and often I'm called the Golden Temple baby because my journey started from there. I go back, whenever I go back, I visit the Shri Harendra Sahib because I feel that when you go there, you do feel a calmness, and a reality check is that a baby born here could go on to a different country in a different part of the world and achieve one of the highest offices in that country. And I think that's because I received the blessings from the beginning. And I think, and the other thing is, I go back to Amritsar because it's the best place in India, I think, still, where you get the best parathas. And I'm a typical Punjabi.
So you're a typical Punjabi who loves paratha.
Typical.
Okay.
I'm never going to be slim.
I have also visited places, Delhi and Amritsar, where you will find paratha wali galis, where you will find different flavor parathas. And that's a typical nature, especially in North India, where they love parathas. And especially people love parathas at home as well. And that delicacy is very well known in British families nowadays. My next question is, what is your connection with Udaipur?
So, first of all, I love Udaipur. My family loves Udaipur, but we have a connection in that my husband is chairman of a very large NGO called Rajasthan Bal Kalyan Samiti, which educates and skills up around about 20,000 tribal children, and children that are very, very poor, children who would never ever get an education otherwise. And this was set up by a phenomenal person 3 or 4 decades ago, who was a local teacher. And instead of letting children who couldn't afford education not be educated, he used his money, his salary, to start a school for them, which has now grown to 20,000 plus kids across Rajasthan. And Udaipur is the main office, and it is one of the most beautiful places ever. In fact, it was so beautiful, my son and his American, now wife, but then fiance, decided that that's where they wanted to get married. I also think, if I'm going to try and do my husband's family tree, that we have historical connections with Rajasthan from his side. And so I think there is a personal connect. And the people of Udaipur are just fantastic. They are just brilliant people, simple, honest, God-fearing people, and we just love being there.
It's great to hear about Udaipur. And as I said earlier, I was a bit selfish when I asked this question because I belong to Rajasthan, and I just thought I should explore this question. My next question is...
Okay, just before I go on to the next question, I just want to always say one thing to your viewers, to everybody. We are lucky that we can access education freely.
Yes.
When we get to a position of helping somebody, just remember education is the biggest liberator ever. It changes your life. Even if you help one person to get educated, you educate the whole family. So please, viewers, don't ever forget that you are privileged. Let somebody else be privileged.
And I think this is the essence of our success. This is the essence of our achievement, that in the end we should try to give back to the society and the community.
Exactly.
And we can give back in many ways, but if we can educate people, probably we are sorting out their lives and their family and their many generations. So my next question is based on, there's a lot of discussions has been held on this topic, especially after Brexit. People are discussing about Indo-UK relationship, business partnership, and other aspects. What is your take on this particular topic?
I think we should all really look at the opportunities now. We are going to have a great trade deal with India at some point. And I think the small, medium-sized sector is going to play a huge role. I think the Indian diaspora is going to play a huge role. But I think also the fact that India is one of the quickest, largest economies on the planet, we need to make sure that, the Indian community benefits from this global growth. And so I would say to viewers that are looking at what trade is going to happen, is look at what we have done everywhere we have gone in the world. We are one of the most entrepreneurial communities on the planet. You can find an Indian everywhere and anywhere. And the great strength is we see opportunities and we make things happen because we're not scared of hard work. But I would honestly say to you, as we grow, let us grow those relationships so that our strengths are in building businesses in India too. Our small and medium-sized businesses here need to be part of the journey of the trade deals between UK and India. And we need to be at the forefront. We need to be heard. So please, in your local areas with your local chambers of commerce, get involved. There's going to be huge got actually intelligence that nobody else has. We know our community is better than anybody else.
I think that was a really key message from this conversation today. Hopefully those who are watching this program, they will try to take the advantage of this proper deal, and probably they will involve themselves. I have a lot of questions in my mind, but time is very short. So whatever we have to decide, that we have to decide in the given time. I'm really thankful to you, Baroness Verma. It was really a pleasure talking to you, and it was really great learning from you as a layman that what type of challenges you have faced, and whatever you are today, it's just because of your sheer determination, the values which were inculcated by your parents, and your own undying, I can put it this way, your own undying wish to become something as a woman character in history. I know you love history. Hopefully your life will be also part of an inspirational woman's history one day. I wish for that.
I just want to, before you finish, the one biggest inspirational figure everybody has, and I have, is my partner in life. My husband has been my rock. He has never seen my position as something of a threat. He has seen it as a strength. And out there, to all men today, my message is one. One thing I'd like to say to all men: if you do not think you can do it, that your wife, your sister, your mother, your daughter can, please
support them.
Confident enough in that relationship.
So, Special thanks to Mr. Ashok Verma as well for organizing this program and supporting you from the back end. He is a rock solid person. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening, and we will be together again on next Thames Speaks on next Thursday. Thank you everyone.